to be limited on time, so just one moment. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who have signed up to speak on this bill. So assuming that maybe you'll take 10 minutes, that would give about 5 minutes per person to follow up, or we might have to shorten that just a little bit. I want to give everybody an equal opportunity to speak. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, bring before you today H.R. 46, a proposed constitutional amendment that in a limited way repeal a change to the Constitution made in 1945. We'll throw a little history here. The state constitution was largely silent on education until 1877, when a change allowed municipal entities, cities or counties, any political subdivision of the state to form school systems and to tax to provide education services. That was a law of the land for the next 80 years until it changed in 1945. Then a simple statement says in Article 8, Section 5 of the Constitution is amended to say basically paragraph 1, school systems continue, consolidation of school systems authorized, new independent school systems prohibited. That was the change. Fast forward to the present, we now have a huge range in size of school systems in Georgia, from systems like Tallaferro County with 180 students K through 12, and Gwinnett with 170,000. 10% of all Georgia students go to Gwinnett County School. What I'm looking to introduce into the mix, keeping in mind the disparate sizes of some of the huge urban systems and very small rural systems, in a very limited way, is something that many members of this committee heard during the listening tour in the constant refrain over the gap between the sessions: flexibility, flexibility, flexibility. What this resolution seeks to accomplish is to allow the formation of new municipal school systems in areas of the metro area that have had explosive growth, a large number of new municipal corporations, and to be frank, some serious malfeasance issues that have had national and international exposure. Leads me into the second reason, beyond just educating our youth more effectively and with better education outcomes: economic development. Like it or not, the metro area contains half the population of the state, not coincidentally, extremely large school systems. When we have challenges with major-sized systems like the cheating scandals, the conviction and imprisonment of numerous school officials, systems being put on probation, and the unprecedented removal of an entire school board by the governor, it hurt the economy of the entire state. We had the honor as a state to be selected several weeks ago by Site Selection Magazine as the #1 state in the U.S. to do business. I submit to you, we cannot maintain that status if we don't improve on education. ARC has just finished up a study that has projected huge growth over the next 25 years in the North Metro area, and if we don't build flexibility into local entities to account for this growth, we risk the future of the state. Third issue, local control. At the end of the day, the 1945 amendment did something that many of us would find abhorrent today. It removed the freedom of local governments to use their locally generated taxes for education and forcibly ceded that to a county government that may or may not have been attentive to the needs of that municipality. Yet conversely, it allows for consolidation by choice if 2 or more existing systems felt it would be right-sizing by combining. This represents a real inequity that we have an opportunity to remedy, something that fundamentally stripped away local control, that also allows us to proactively, instead of reactively, deal with the issues we know are coming as our state continues to grow. I'm aware of this sensitive issue. As a state, we spend over half our budget on education, but still have less than stellar outcomes, to be frank. I'm also aware that there are many systems that are doing fine, hence the reason for my limiting with language the scope of this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. There are several folks I know here that are going to want to speak in favor of this resolution. I'll be glad to take any questions, but with that, I'll open up for questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions from the panel? We do. Representative Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Kirby, appreciate you bringing the bill. This attempt to have basically what I see as a city school system, would you characterize that as that?
What the bill allows could be, and there's several permutations. If you look at it, basically it allows you to cross county lines. It allows you to combine cities that are adjacent. So you could look down the line. You could say you could have an individual Sandy Springs school system. You could have a Sandy Springs Dunwoody school system. We're not saying that that's in the works, but what that would allow would any individual city or a combination thereof. Yes, sir.
The thing that concerns me is that the tax base of the smaller school systems. I have 3 school systems in my home county. I have 2 city systems and 1 and one county system. And the two city systems are, one of them's at 20 mills right now, and the other one's very close. And it would seem to me that if you narrow down your property base, that you're going to run into the same problems that my city school systems are having right now, is a lack of funds.
We did to support this, basically there are 16 cities that are possibly involved in this, mostly in North Metro, and then two in South Fulton. Basically, we took one city, the city I represent, Dunwoody, and did a feasibility study based on the current level of service that DeKalb is providing and the current millage rate, which is 24 mills in the county. With that, a Dunwoody system, I'm not speaking to any of the others, and this is not nobody be forced to form a city school system, it just gives you the opportunity. But at 24 mills, with the current level of service, that city system would realize a $30 million surplus every year.
But if you do a different system, then the millage would be different, wouldn't it?
Depends where that were set, sir. Even if you reduce that back to the state cap of 20, DeKalb had a dispensation, if we'll call it several decades ago, because they ran a junior college system. Their millage cap is 25, not 20. So even if you took that back to 20, you'd still be running a significant surplus.
Can I follow up, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
It just concerns me that we have, I believe it's 180 systems out there right now, and we have a ton of them that are struggling to make ends meet, and your resolution is calling to increase that number past 180. I'm just concerned about the monetary effect on those people that might not necessarily be stuck in that area and not necessarily in favor of a new school system to be done in their area. It's going to be very difficult.
The process in this, and I'll come back to you in a second, would be the first the constitutional amendment, then each and every, if this passed, each entity that wanted to become a school system would have to come back basically with a charter, more or less like a state charter, enabling legislation to support that. And my assumption would be, as we found with the newly incorporated cities, is you would do a feasibility study first to see that if that's feasible. If not, you may stick with the county system. You may make several choices.
One final question, Mr. Chairman. In looking at your map over there, it looks like, how many cities have you got?
16 total, sir.
I've never known 16 cities to be able to get along on who's going to control what on something. You're in what, 3 different counties?
Yes, sir. This is not a 16-city school system. This allows for any one of those entities or none of those entities to do this.
But if you have more than one city that gets into the mix, then there's going. It's been my I really don't know what the word is I'm looking, but that when you get more than one, then eventually there will be some type of jealousy or whatever else with the other city, or with how many other cities you've got over who's going to control this thing. So
I've seen the opposite side of that, as not in schools, but in city government. Right now, we have a North Metro SWAT basically team that operates between the cities of Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, and Johns Creek. We've cross-sworn the officers in those cities to respond to any of those. That crosses county lines. That's been working extremely well for the past 4 years. And it just shares resources. It allows us, even across county lines, to share resources, because each of the individual cities, and this is just an example, didn't have the assets to stand up a full SWAT organization on their own.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Representative Dudgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Tom, for bringing the bill. I represent Johns Creek in the area up there, and I really don't think there's going to be a mad gold rush for a bunch of systems. It's probably some special cases. Question for you. Well, these would be general bills. If the constitutional amendment passed, it wouldn't be local bill, right? It would be a general bill to make a new school system.
That would be very much analogous to the city charters when when Johns Creek built and Sandy Springs formed. It would be a general bill enabling legislation. Would not be required?
No, it's if you look on line 27,
Yeah, local law.
yeah, a local law would be passed that would set out the composition of the board and all the criteria.
That's interesting. Another thing I want to point out is that I know one of the problems we have in the state is a lot of really small school systems, which is tough to make financially. But all these cities here have a substantial population. What was the feasibility study for Dunwoody? How many kids would they have?
Roughly 6,000, just
Yeah.
a little over 6,000, which would still make it, even if you just did that city of
Yeah.
50,000 population, you'd have 6,000 public school students, which would still be one of the larger systems in the state, you know.
I think that's important to point out. We're not, a lot of these really small city school systems in small counties is where the consolidation
I
would
would
be
say
good.
Sandy Springs, I think they're rated about 10,000. So you're talking about school systems that are larger than probably the majority of systems in the state, even if you were to just take one city.
Okay. Thank you.
Representative Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Taylor. Appreciate you bringing this. Going back sort of what Chairman Benton was asking. Now, I'm reading this, that any municipality which is contiguous to the created on after January 1st, but they can be in different counties. So you'll be crossing the county lines with the school systems and
It allows crossing county lines, it does not specify that you have to.
how the counties and the cities would have to get together with the tax base there. If you're crossing the county lines, how are you going to set up? I know there's a couple of places where that's already a problem. A city school crosses into a couple of counties, and they always have a $500 splash money, and they're different tax base. There's one area that's got all the industry, and in one part of a county that the students go to school in another county, and that's always when I represent that particular area a thorn in the flesh.
So my answer to that would be, I would hope that people forming these school systems would be thoughtful, take those issues into account prior to moving forward with anything like this. You'd have to have a pretty solid agreement. I would think that they would do a lot of due diligence and have a lot of conversations before this happens. Also, this would have to go to a referendum.
And just what, I guess follow up, if you pass the city school system, it would be mandatory for those students in that area, geographic area, to go to the school system that would be created for them. They couldn't stay in the county school systems.
That's correct.
Representative Glanton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just kind of bring some clarity to me, if you will. What do you do in the case of 4 cities, and then you create a situation where you actually have competing counties? Is that correct? A county competing for that particular city school system, one county versus the other, and then the other part of that is, depending on which side of which county you're in, you're still using that particular county's resources, but that county is not benefiting from those that tax base.
Okay, this allows crossing county lines, it does not mandate it. But these would be independent municipal school systems, separate from the county school system with their own assets.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Well, I understand what you're saying. It allows for it, but it doesn't mandate it to do. But if you put something into law, sooner or later, somebody's going to try to exercise it. So my concern is, have you addressed the issue of the conflicts that you recall between board of cities and competing counties?
Again, both parties would have to be in agreement for this to cross a county line or across a city line.
Both entities being in both
Both,
counties?
both entities. If you, I'll give you, I mean, just a hypothetical example. Say you wanted to do a Dunwoody Peachtree Corners, and that's just arbitrary. You would have to have both of those cities agree to that.
I'm not concerned about the cities. I understand the cities agree, but these cities across boundaries of counties. So you're creating a conflict between that city and that county that city lies within. So my question is, how do you address the competing counties? I understand the cities can come together, the board of cities can come together, but how do you deal with that political conflict between the two counties?
We already deal with that, but I think, you know, we've got city schools in counties, you know, we have Decatur and DeKalb County. You know, again, this doesn't mandate this. There would have to be agreements, you know, negotiated out basically for any of this to happen. If in fact you did at some point want to combine. I don't know if like Representative Dudgeon said, there's going to be a big gold rush to do this.
All right, Chairman Coleman.
And this for legislative council. We were mentioning, Gavin knows the 25 mills, and say they create the school system of Dunwoody, would they automatically be grandfathered in the 25 mills, or they would be under the new state law? That 20 would be all they could go. So that would be taken care of. It just goes back to that.
That was,
You mentioned that. But
that was the anticipation, and the history on that is basically they ran a junior college system,
Right.
and they were allowed a dispensation
Right,
years ago,
they did.
and never was taken away.
Representative Dudgeon, you're going again. Anybody else that hasn't spoken? Okay, we'll give you another shot.
Just real quick, I was gonna point out that Beaufort, doesn't Beaufort cross county lines up there, go down in Hall County, Beaufort school system, and they're one of the best school systems in the state. So, and they do, every once in a while, get a little bit of kerfuffle around SPLOST, but
And that's the biggest one.
they're extremely successful.
Spell it. All right. Chairman Colbert.
Let's suppose you created the Dunwoody, and there's a school, well, let's take District Corners, I'm familiar with that one, there's a high school there, there's an elementary school. Would those become part of that new city, or would the county say, how would you deal
Well,
with that?
Peachtree Corners is a municipality, it's an incorporated
Right. But I'm
municipality.
saying, how would you deal with that, with Gwinnett County property? Is the
Oh,
property?
the property,
That's
there's,
that's what I'm saying. How would you
much
deal with that?
analogous to the cities, there's a 1930 court case when the city of College Park incorporated. Basically, the Supreme Court said that those assets had been paid for by the tax digests of those folks, so that the facilities went
So those schools
to
would
the
automatically
city.
become city schools?
Correct.
Okay, I believe that's got the discussion from the panel. We've got several people who wanted to speak. Let's see, three people with the Glass Organization, Bob Dallas, Sean Keefe, and Erica Harris. Do all of you need to speak, or could one speak for the group? If not, we'll just we'll go for 3 or 4 minutes, and we may have to cut it. And then Robert Williston from Dunwoody Parents and Cedar Cook. So we'll take them in that order. So Bob Dallas, if you will go first, please.
If it's okay with you, Mr. Speaker, we were hoping to switch places and have Erica Harris go first.
That's fine with me. Let's just kind of move it as quickly as we can. And just state who you are and what your concerns are.
Good afternoon. My name is Erica Harris, and I am co-chair of GLASS, which is Georgians for Local Area School Systems. First of all, I'd like to offer thanks for having us here to speak on the merits and importance of HR 46. Today, Georgia has made and continues to make important efforts in increasing flexibility in education, which was emphasized 2 weeks ago by our House Education Committee Chair, Representative Brooks Coleman. Much of this flexibility has revolved around the ability to request waivers from state educational mandates in order to pursue innovative ideas as it pertains to curriculum and instruction. However, this flexibility does little to address struggles in structural management that very large districts in our state are currently encountering and will continue to encounter. The Constitution only provides flexibility for school system organization in the direction of consolidation. When a system has grown too large to succeed and fails to offer all students in each school an equal opportunity to maximize their highest potential, there is no mechanism in which to restructure. HR 46 provides the flexibility to create systems of manageable sizes. A significant amount of research focusing on the optimal school system size has been completed over the past decade. GLASS put together a packet for you. In the very back of your packet, at your leisure, you can see a list of the research material that has been gone over that supports manageable size school systems. But first, I'd like to have you look at tab 3, and I'll have you go to the pie graph, which should be page 3 of tab 3. When looking at graduation rates in Georgia, you will find that 34 school systems out of the top 36, being 20% of the systems in Georgia, are under 10,000 students. These are the top performing districts. By contrast, in the lowest performing 20%, 8 out of those 36 districts are over 10,000 students. It's necessary to look closer, and if you turn to page 4, if you turn to the next infograph, It's necessary to look closer at the 8 out of 36 school systems in the bottom 20% though. When we convert districts to student numbers, those 8 districts service 78%, or 292,000 out of 375,000 students. The other 28 systems service only 22% of the students in the lowest 20% of performing districts. To further break down this data, two mega-sized metro county school systems are in the bottom 20% of districts by graduation rate: Clayton County and DeKalb County. These 2 districts service nearly 40%, or 148,000 students in the bottom 20%. These numbers are significant. Systems of manageable sizes, simply put, allow for risk diversification. The question is, as our state and our metro counties continue to grow in size, which we know they will the flexibility be there for these systems to reorganize in order to capitalize on the benefits that manageable size school systems offer? HR 46 is the mechanism in which large metro school systems can be proactive and flexible to the structural challenges that accompany these large districts and their continued growth in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if we have any questions. If we do, we'll keep them brief. Does anybody have a question? All right. Well, thank you. Now next will be
Bob Dallas.
Bob Dallas.
And
Okay.
I just want to say that Representative Mueller and you all's questions answered a lot of what I was going to cover. I'm an attorney, but more importantly, I have 4 boys in public schools, and personally 22 years of public education. So I'm a believer in public schools. So I want to turn your attention to tab 3's first page, and that identifies historically Georgia's Constitution, which at one time did allow municipal schools, and then in 1945 was changed to restrict that from occurring. And purposefully, it also allows for consolidation. So this amendment will allow for new districts to form, as you have heard. So I will sit down and respect the time. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Dallas? Okay. Apparently we don't have any. Thank you. Sean Keefe.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to find my opportunity to speak right now.
Okay. Thank you. Robert Willenstein.
Witnessing, and I'll decline as well, just in the interest of time. I think Representative Taylor made the points that I would be looking at. Thank you.
Okay, since some people have declined, if you really have a good point, we'll entertain it. But if you feel good, we're good. That leaves only one other person, Cedar Cook, with Metro Atlantis for Public Schools.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members, and I, of course, try to be brief. But I do want to speak from another perspective. When I was starting to think about what I was going to say, I started out with the old thing about the grass and the greener on the other side. But then as I thought about it, I think in this situation, it's a matter of keeping the grass green where you are because you put a fence around the area of the water supply. That the issue is, I believe very much in public education. It needs lots of fixes. I'm for reforms, but I worry about reforms that seem to take a major pace. I'm even tempted to say, like, everybody get on the freeway at the same time to get out of town.
Don't say that.
It doesn't mean so that would be out of my head. But in any case, that I think that too often we need to think about implementation, transition, figuring out what really will work, not just for the people in the area we were talking about this year, but for the people in the other parts of the county. I was very concerned about another version of this, which was the whole issue of chartering an entire cluster, which would be the creation of a semi-separate system that almost happened in DeKalb. There are so many cities that have talked about happening. There are 3 feasibility studies by people at universities who say each of those 3 cities will be economically feasible, but each one of them claims the tax power from the same shopping mall. And which would be in my analogy from the same river. And so that I just would urge you to think about whether this is something that should be happening the way it is, or how we can figure out how to work so that this larger area, larger county, can over time serve all the students there.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Cook? Apparently we do not. Thank you. right, those are the people who had signed up to speak. Do we have anyone else? We got through those a little quicker than I expected. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, come on up. Just tell us who you are, please, and give you about 3 or 4 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Rebecca Chase Williams. I'm on the City Council and Mayor Pro Tem in Georgia's newest city of Brookhaven. And I'm just here to say we too are in support of this bill. It could be that we are in DeKalb County, and if you've been reading the news, you know that that's a troubled system. We've been patient. We've been working in the system. We would love to keep the grass greener there. But we also believe as new cities and quite successful new cities that really sometimes bringing the problem closer to the people, having more local control is a more efficient and more effective. I spent 20 years as a news correspondent for ABC News, and I covered education quite a bit. And one of the things that always stuck with me is that there is an ideal size school, just as there is sort of optimal size classrooms, there's ideal size schools. And I'm very impressed with the research that the folks from Glass have done to basically say there's an ideal school district size that is both optimal from both an efficiency and cost effectiveness, and it's also best for kids. So really a system between about 3,000 and 10,000 kids is both better for taxpayers and better for kids. We do not have good graduation rates in DeKalb County. We're quite envious of the city of Decatur, which had the highest graduation rates. Their school system is 3,500 kids. The DeKalb system is 99,000 kids. In my mind, that's why children fall through the cracks. And that's a terrible thing. And we are all dedicated to improving education in this state. We all want the best school systems for our children. We are just asking you to give us a chance to have the right size school system. How it works, whether we would, in Brookhaven, our schools actually are district to Chamblee. So, you know, there's a likely chance if this went through, we would partner with Chamblee. Well, we get along pretty well with Chamblee. We don't always agree with them, but you know, we can work for a common purpose on this. And our high school in Brookhaven is Cross Keys. We've had a 42% graduation rate. We think we can do better than that. Just give us a chance to vote on this. That's all we ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the speaker? All right. Okay. We finished that a little quicker than I anticipated. Okay. Let me summarize briefly, if I can, and we will act on this measure. This is a resolution that would require a 2/3 vote in the House and the Senate, and then it would have to go on a ballot for the people to consider the question of shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended so as to authorize any municipality created on or after January 1, 2005, and any municipality which is contiguous to a municipality created on or after January 1st, 2005, irrespective of whether such municipalities may be in different counties, to establish individually or collectively by local law an independent school system. That is what we are voting to send to the full committee. At this time, I would entertain a motion, and I have a light from Representative Dudgeon.
Mr. Chairman, I would move do pass.
Okay, we have a move to pass. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. All right. Is there any further discussion on House Resolution 486? Yes.
On the constitutional amendment itself, there's an error in created on or after January misspelled about that. Get that corrected.
Yeah, we're gonna blame that on the legislative council.
Howard, you send it over. We'll fix it in the Senate for you.
I do not want my senator fixing anything. Thank you, my brother. I want to get it out of here right.
Let me ask the question of Legislative Council. Would it be appropriate for us to go ahead and amend this at this moment to fix that?
Yeah, otherwise, I mean, to pass that way, that's exactly what we put on the ballot, so.
Okay.
I mean, you
All right.
should put something like so.
we have a do pass recommendation and a second. I would like to ask if we would have a motion to amend before we vote. Do we have a motion to make that amendment, please? Okay. We have a motion to amend and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? All right, we got that little thing fixed. Okay, we're up for a vote now. Any further discussion on whether or not we're going to go for a do pass on House Resolution 486 as amended? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. No. The ayes clearly have it. House Resolution 486 will move to the, as amended, will move forward to the full committee. Any other business we need to conduct at this time? Right now, it looks like this will be heard tomorrow in the full committee.
I've never heard you in a meeting. That's
I've never been in a meeting. I
just left Merry Christmas for this across. Yeah, and happy holidays. I threw that. I threw claws in there.
You need to do that for being witness.
I called it the Wittgenstein Amendment.
No problem.